Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are back on the update Danger Zone dev server and it's time to have a look at the Challenger DC. This is a vehicle which is going to be coming to the British tech tree as a premium in the next major update. It looks like we are getting a bunch of these vehicles at 9.7 or 10.0. You've already got the terms, so it's time for the Challenger, and also the Leopard 2, which is coming as well. The Challenger DC is basically just a Mark II Challenger, which is very similar to it with slightly different additions. You can see here it has some sandbags on it, but they are purely cosmetic. They don't give you any extra defense. It also has this camouflage on it, and you have many different variants of this camouflage. So the standard one is obviously the kind of deserty one, the late bicolor, which is the nice one. Then you got the bicolor desert, the winter, and of course the unicolor, and the summer camouflage, which is more of the standard one that you find on the default version of the vehicle. So what you find from the Challenger DC is a simple mess of nice Challenger ideas. If you've never played the Challenger 1, and this will be your first foray into it, you'll find the Challenger is unique in certain ways which make it very fun to play. The main one being the reload. The reload on this 120 L11A5 makes it one of the faster reloading 120s in the game. There are a few which are better than it, but generally you see them at higher BRs. And because it's manually loaded, you can improve it with a better crew. It does only have a first stage ammo stowage of 3 pieces though, which means that you can get rapid fire, basically 4 shots off before you have to reload that first stage, and that means that you have the longer reload. But during those first 4 pieces of ammunition, you can just annihilate targets. It's great at follow-up shooting the Challenger, which is why sitting in areas holding parts of the map, firing once, nuking, and then firing again can really just be fantastic to do, because the enemy doesn't have a lot of time to react. Also, the ammunition that this thing gets is good enough to be able to annihilate anything that it finds around it. It does have the standard 4-man crew with the loader, gunner, commander in the turret, and then the driver in the front here. The driver doesn't have a ton of armor with him, and also has this lower glacis, which is massive. But if you're playing the Challenger correctly, most of the time people are not going to be able to shoot this because you're going to be hulled down. That doesn't mean that this thing is going to be impervious though. There is a decent amount of armor on the turret, and also at the same time you have this composite armor here, which is quite nice. But the main issue the Challenger has is the same issue that a lot of vehicles have. They have hardly any armor around the actual breach itself. So a lot of people just shoot through the breach and kind of try and hit the crew behind, or just knock out the gun and then rush it, which is a bit rough, not gonna lie. The vehicle has a 1200 horsepower engine and a good transmission, meaning that it can go forwards at 56 kilometers an hour and backwards at 37 kilometers an hour. This means that it has a good advantage at peaking hills, moving back, and also repositioning once you get it upgraded. But this thing is a premium, so it comes upgraded, so you don't have to worry about that. The other thing is the gun depression. It has 10 degrees of gun depression, which is hard to come by with a lot of high-tier vehicles, and 10 degrees is very much great to be able to once again peak and shoot and move back and continue to do it over and over again. Doesn't have 50 cal, which kind of sucks, but does have a coaxial 7.62 and also a commander 7.62 up here, which will give it a little bit more use, and at the same time can carry a ton of ammunition. Doesn't have blowout panels, but what it does have is 2-piece ammunition. So you have the inert part, which is the front of the shell, then you have the shape charge, which is at the back, which you will find in different areas of the vehicle. You can see the vast majority of it down here, whereas the first stage is right here. So it's going to be hard for a vehicle to hit this because it's so small, but it will be easy to hit the back stuff. And also if you decide to carry a lot more ammunition, they'll be able to hit it in the front as well. So that is something to think about. This vehicle has a bunch of smoke grenades as well for survivability, and also it does have a bit of smoke shells if you want to use them, but it's generally better just to hold the L23. This thing does get the L23 as a stock round, but because it's a premium, you can get access to the best round to start with. This is the L23A1. It's the standard Challenger 2 round that you find from the tech tree, and it gives you 396, 334, 229 millimeters of pen. This is one of the better rounds at 9.7. You're not going to have any issues really penetrating anything with it, and you're going to be doing all right with it. They've also changed some of the icons for the modifications, which looks pretty nice. So always make a note of the little additions they add. It does have Gen 1 thermals, meaning that it can spot targets at longer range. It has a laser rangefinder as well, so you can automatically range stuff from a long way away. And when we talk about the lineup that this thing has, it used to be a lot stronger, I'm not going to lie, when a bunch of vehicles were 9.7, like the Challenger Mark III was 9.7, the Vickers Mark VII was 9.7, but nowadays it's not as strong, but it's still very good. You've got the Challenger Mark II, you've got the TTD, you can bring along the VFM5 for support, and also stuff such as the ZA35 for an AA complementation to it. And then also now you have the Challenger as the premium to bring along, so you've got a good strong MBT lineup. These vehicles as well, the Mark II and the Challenger DC, do go up to 10.0 pretty well. So you can also use them at that BR. You don't have to worry about it too much. And aviation wise, you got pretty decent vehicles there as well. The Jaguar, of course, the GR3, and then of course the GR1A if you up tier it, which has access to the wonderful Mark 13s, which can definitely change games in a positive way. If not though, you can just use the GR3 and use its CCIP on its bombs and kill a lot of targets with them. So what you get out of this thing is a vehicle which you've seen before in the tech tree, but that's what you kind of want when it comes to the stuff such as the premiums at high tier. You don't want them to be too fancy, because then they're going to be seen as overpowered and pay to win. So it's much better that they are generic copies of what you've seen before, and kind of like how we had the IS2 last event, in the Legends event, where it's just a slightly modified IS2 1944 with different little bricks on it. It's nice to see with the Challenger they've basically gone for the same thing. You know, it's got some sandbags on it, it's got some nice decals on it, and that's pretty much it. It doesn't need anything else, because it has pretty much everything else from the standard Challenger. You can hear the new engine noises as well on this vehicle, which sounds super nice, just like they do on a lot of the other vehicles, giving them a lot of roaring and definitely a lot of girth to them. And you can see the reload of the first stage just going to be absolutely fantastic on this vehicle in general. The Challenger is one of my favorite vehicles in the game. I've had some great times with it. I've had some wonderful games in it and have thoroughly enjoyed it along with the Challenger 2s, and I'm hoping that many other people also enjoy it alongside what I have. It's also one of the better options to be able to grind through the British tech tree, and will be useful for many years to come if they ever add any new vehicles, which I'm sure they're going to, just like they did the Black Knights in the previous update. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Merciless Reaper, Jerry Provolt, Mega Dino King, Professor X1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, Moxie, B. Young, and Derek R., Barine, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.